This episode of Dude Soup is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Don't let your internet activity be exposed. Protect yourself at expressvpn.com/dude.
Today on the show, we're talking about Cyberpunk getting delayed about a week ago, Mixer's untimely death, and of course, some Last of Us 2 talk. Stay tuned. It's an all-new episode of Dude Soup. One day we'll roll the new
Spoiler free, right? Spoiler free, Dude Soup.
Well, you put a poll.
I did do a poll. We'll talk about it. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Dude Soup. I'm joined by Alana Pierce and John Smith. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you doing? Hello.
I'm doing A-okay. Good to have you guys here. So we are live streaming this as we do. You could always watch us live on roosterteeth.com. Tuesdays when we record this, 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I put a little straw poll in there saying, hey, should we talk about Last of Us 2 spoilers or not? Both of you guys have finished it. I have not. I'm halfway through. So we'll see. We'll see by the time we get there. That's the last thing we're going to discuss today.
But worth noting, we would probably only do spoilers for the first half of the game because that's what Adam has played.
Possibly,
so we wouldn't do the
yes.
whole thing. I'm not going to go spoiling the ending for you.
That's totally fine.
It's just, Alana and I are true gamers. We blasted through the game. We can't expect everyone to keep up with us.
Yeah, we're real Jacob Fullertons out here.
Well, Alana, you had the review copy, so you've had time with it. John texted me at midnight saying, I finished game. Just like, thanks, dude. While I'm playing
I think every
1
friend
a.m.
I've had who's finished it, I've gotten progressive texts of people being like, I finished the game, and I've had 4 phone calls. People are like, I need to talk to someone. And like, I will be that guy.
I was happy to play the game with everyone else. I think, John also texted me, randomly texted me. He's like, hey, if I pre-order the game, can I download it? Do you know? I'm like, no, I don't know because I didn't pre-order the game. Like he was asking me like I was tech support.
I was asking you because you said earlier you were like, got to prepare my heart for this weekend. And I was like, what are you talking about? And you're like, Last of Us 2, gonna be a doozy. That's why I was asking.
But they still don't let you download it until the release date. It was actually you, John, who told me, hey, it's available at 9 o'clock, or you were asking me if it was available. So then I just downloaded it.
Well, I think you can download it. You just can't play it.
Right. Preload.
That's a cool thing that PlayStation does where you download it and then it actually shows a timer counting down. And then when it reaches 0, you can launch it.
That is a cool thing that PlayStation does.
I booted up Bloodborne while I waited, died, and then played Last of Us. But let's get to the news. This was a story late last week. Real sad, happy. We'll figure that out. But Cyberpunk has been delayed. This time it's being moved from September 17th to November 19th. This came out via tweet. I will just put a little screenshot up, but basically it says your basic press release. We want to spend more time on the game. We want to make it great. A broken game is broken forever. A great game is the best thing you could ever have. Miyamoto said that, I believe. So yeah, how do you guys feel about Cyberpunk getting delayed?
I'm always pro game delays because it means the thing will be better in the long run. I think that the thing that I feel like I wish they would avoid more is even giving us a date if they aren't sure. And I know it's a lot more complicated than that. They think they can hit that target date and then they don't. Especially with a game that's ambitious as Cyberpunk looks. But, fully in support of delays. Make a better game. We want this game to be as good as possible. I'm very much on board with that. But also feel free to just be like, this period of 2020. You don't have to give us an exact date,
Mm-hmm. John, you okay with this, or is your heart broken?
I could wait until 2077 to play this game.
Please don't.
I'm in the same vein as y'all that delaying a game is much better than releasing it prematurely. We all saw what happened with Anthem, even though that was probably going to be a garbage game no matter what. But yeah, I think I agree with Alana as well. As why give a date at all? Why not do what they sometimes do at conferences where they just go, hey, by the way, available for download right now.
The reason that they do that is for investors, which is also a thing where CD Projekt Red is concerned because they get investment literally from the government. So I can't even imagine what that is like. They are considered like a national asset. So usually if you're giving a street date, it's not even really for the people who intend to purchase it, because what do we care about? An actual date several months in advance. Is that going to change our purchasing decisions? Probably not, for the most part.
I got to know when to take my days off.
That is true, but for the most part, it's about making sure your investors know the date. And if you have to tell them on an investment call, those are public to press anyway, so it's better for you to make the announcement yourself. That's why it happens. EA specifically is also a really interesting one where that stuff is concerned. They are so stock market driven as a company that they will release broken products just so that the game releases in the window that they promised the investors that it would release in, because your finances get really fucking complicated in the games industry if you have these investors who see, well, you spent all this marketing budget in this quarter telling us it would pay off in this quarter and it hasn't. That's why they're like, we'll just release a broken game. We don't give a fuck.
Right. And
which they kind of can get away with Ultimate Team as well.
Release it broken and then just patch it over time until the next one comes out the next year.
Yeah.
Some good news, though, from their tweet. They did say at the time that we're writing these words, Cyberpunk 2077 is finished, both content and gameplay wise. The quest, the cutscenes, the skills, the items, all the adventures Night City has to offer. It's all there, but with such with abundance of content and complex systems interweaving with each other, we need to properly go through everything, balance game mechanics, and fix a lot of bugs. Well, so good stuff. Polish is basically what they're talking about. Some Polish polish.
Nice.
Did
you write that in the script? You wrote that
Did
down,
not. No, it's my dyslexia kicking in and being like, is that the same
Works
word?
in your favor.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I think we all kind of stand by this. We've been burned too many times by games releasing a little too early, and I feel like Cyberpunk's probably it feels precious on the internet. I think everyone's pretty excited about it. So yeah.
I think
also, go ahead, John.
I was gonna say, I think most games that release broken never come back, but there is one redemption story that I know of, which is No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Internet Historian does a great, like a very long doc on it. Well, I don't know. It's a YouTube video on it. It seems like a doc, but basically what they did was they released the game broken, and then they went radio silent for months, and then just released a patch with a bunch of content and fixes, and then they just kept releasing more and more content, and then like 2.5, 3 years later, it blows up again because
they won an award that first year for some specific thing and didn't even show up and didn't tell anyone they weren't showing up. They just didn't accept the award. But No Man's Sky is a really interesting one because I hated that game on launch. And I wasn't excited for it before launch. I kept saying, I was still at IGN at the time on podcasts, like all the time, I don't think this game's going to have a lot of content. I don't think it's going to be good. Because PlayStation fanboys were so excited about it, someone literally started a petition to get me fired because I was talking shit about No Man's Sky. Came out, I didn't like it. And then the next update was, or is, I guess, even though it's updated since then, one of my favorite games. Like, I now absolutely love No Man's Sky. And I think that is, like, to the credit of a smaller studio, that they can get away with doing that. Whereas most, like, AAA studios would have to move on to another project. But No Man's Sky, fucking rules. I'm trying to think of, like Ori and the Will of the Wisps is my game of the year so far this year. I loved it. But it is also buggy as hell. And that's a thing that, like, I kind of wouldn't even recommend people on launch.
Keeps breaking my Xbox.
It crashes
just shuts it down.
Yeah. That
strange
man-eater game where you play as the shark, I can't play that on my Xbox because it hard crashes the system every time you get to a certain point. It's fucking nuts. I'm like, but I really want to play that game. So there are a few, but mostly you're right, John. Yeah.
That's actually a great comparison to No Man's Sky, because I'm seeing some similarities between Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky of the promises people are making to themselves in a way of like, man, I can't wait to like rev my Cyberpunk motorcycle and it's going to be perfect. And people are like, what are you talking about? Like, why do you assume that there's gonna be motorcycle like customization mechanics? Like, I know it's gonna be a life simulator. It's like, I don't think they ever promised that.
No, yeah, you're right.
I can't wait to open my own Cyberpunk store and sell Cyberpunk goods and manage all the inventory of my Cyberpunk store. I am
getting to play it tomorrow. I will let you know. Oh. I'm getting to play about 4 hours tomorrow. Very, very, very excited.
When can you talk about it?
On Thursday, we will be doing an Inside Gaming stream where I can talk about it. I'm also happy to just talk about it at virtually any fucking point in time. I got this. It's right here. I got this. They sent me this sweater.
They sent you Cyberpunk? Oh.
God, no, I wish I had the game in person. No, they sent me this sweater that says that I just keep thinking, you really made this merch to be stolen, huh? It says Cyberpunk played it before launch.
Okay.
Ooh.
And then the
Wow.
back just says Cyberpunk hands on. And then it has this
Okay.
like pocket thing, right, with the CD Projekt Red logo. But then on the inside of it has like a lanyard holder.
Huh.
Okay.
It's very strange, but I am a fan.
Okay.
But regardless, no, I think you're absolutely right, Adam, that people are promising themselves things in this game based on things that CDPR haven't even said. I think, to CDPR's credit, because it's just such a fucking good studio. Like, I'm really excited about this game. I am 1000% biased in every aspect of where this game is concerned. Full disclosure, like, I'm just mad hyped for it. And yeah, maybe we're gonna screw ourselves over by being too hyped, but here we are.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, temper your expectations. Go in just expecting a decent, okay time. Just go in with very little to no expectations. I know that's hard with a game like this because of the hype behind it, but I've learned to just kind of go in without hyping myself up, and I ultimately leave less disappointed. And if I'm just satisfied, if it's just like a decent time at the the soup plantation, it wasn't great. It wasn't a lot of protein there. It's mostly bread and empty calories, but you know what? I didn't go in expecting anything, so I'm not upset.
So what you're saying, Adam, is just don't be excited about anything. That's how you should live your life.
Temper expectations. That's all I'm saying.
No,
Whenever
you're right.
we live in a very overhyped society at this point. I didn't want to say society. God damn it.
We do live in a society. Yeah, I think part of that stuff comes from like people associate brands now with their identity. So like your identity is tied to liking a certain thing. Like if Deadly Premonition 2 is bad, I'm going to get tweets about it because I have even publicly tied part of who I am as a human to Deadly Premonition. The same would apply to Pokemon for me. Like, I mean, Adam, that's you in Halo. Like, it is literally part of your identity, whether you like it or not at this point.
Yeah.
So you can feel like really tied to something. And I generally don't actually get very excited about video games. I get curious is what I would say. I'll be like, I'm so interested to see what this is. But actual excitement, I get a lot less. I am excited about Cyberpunk.
I've seen a phenomenon with video games lately. Maybe this is just me noticing this more, and let me know if you guys have seen this as well. But I have seen people starting to be more precious with like games like Cyberpunk, where they feel like this game was specifically made for me, even though millions of people are going to play it. And I've seen this sort of attitude shift lately, where it's sort of like, you can't talk about this game, or don't try to talk over me or talk to me about this game because this game is for me. And I'm like, it's for everybody. I don't understand this mentality of no game developers making anything for just you. You are part
they want
of
everyone to play.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we have a cultural disconnect that I keep having to remind myself of too, because I can get sucked into it, where we just keep forgetting that video games are the most popular entertainment medium in the world. We just keep forgetting how many people play video games. So like this is a thing that keeps coming up with The Last of Us, is it's on track to be the highest selling PlayStation 4 game of all time. And the internet a week ago was like, there's no way it's going to sell, and you'll see because we're mad about this thing or this thing. But you have to think about most people who buy that game are not going to have any idea any leaks existed. They don't know what Metacritic is. They just know they have a PlayStation because millions of people do. And that this is a very well-marketed game on a PlayStation. So they go buy it.
Yeah.
It's just like you forget that like playing video games is not necessarily the same as being a part of the games community. Two separate things. Games community, probably not that big. Gamers, millions and millions of people, billions at this point. It's so many people that it's just, yeah. Cyberpunk is absolutely not being made for you. It is being made for millions of people.
Yeah. And also, like, I always forget, and this is something you hear all the time, but I always forget it when it happens, which is that usually the most vocal people are a very small minority within the community. Because, like, when all the, like, negative stuff was happening with Last of Us, I was like, man, everybody's hating on Last of Us.
Yeah,
but
I think even they
wasn't
think they're a
case.
majority, and then not at all.
Yeah.
Especially now that it's out, I keep being like, people keep being like, why are the reviews so different for the user scores and the critics. And I keep being like, I actually think most people who play that game will probably like it. It's just that they're not the people who you hear talking about it. But I think the majority of the millions of people will be like, pretty good. They're like not gonna.
I think that's a big issue across everything, which is that a lot of people misunderstand the difference between their opinion and facts. Like, they're like, this is how I feel about it, and this is the truth. It's like, no, that.
Yeah, I agree, except where dogs are concerned as the only objective good in the world. I will not take any other opinions. Thank you.
Okay. Well, it's tough too. I know there's situations where a couple examples I can think of, the internet willing the film Serenity into existence and then it failing at the box office. X-Men Origins Wolverine leaking early and people saying this is a horrible movie. Look how bad it is. And then it was one of the highest grossing films of that year.
Yeah.
Similar situation. Remember, Lana, you saw not Infinity War. I'm sorry. What was the last one called? Endgame. You saw it early and you're like, I remember you going, there's a Fortnite scene in this movie. And I don't think people are going to like it. And no one cared.
No one even said a word. I was like, I think this is going to be memed
Fortnite?
to shit.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, there's literally Fortnite gameplays in the movie.
Yeah, it was so, and I remember you saying that and being like, oh my God, I think people are going to hate this movie. It's going to flop. And then $1 billion later.
I definitely never said that about Endgame, to be clear. Never said I think it's going to flop.
I was surprised to hear you say that when you're like, this movie's going to make like $10. People are
I definitely expected memes to come out of that, and we didn't get any, which is interesting to think back on, because I was like, oh, that's gonna be taken as cringy bullshit. But it was also, that one was an interesting partnership because I ended up reaching out to Epic, and that was totally unpaid. So you know how Thanos was in Fortnite, and then they had Fortnite gameplay in the movie? They both just like each other. It's like, two massive conglomerates just liking each other. That's cool. I didn't know that could happen.
It's like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos going out to dinner together. Who cares? You know, it doesn't. Like,
books and cars.
You're gonna pay for this?
Doing a trade.
Yeah, we're just.
I have a question.
What's up?
In the Fortnite endgame scene, was it two people with controllers playing while there was just one character running around on screen?
It was just Thor playing.
I think it's just Thor. Yeah.
Yeah.
My
that's
problem,
always my favorite thing, when there's two people on the couch being like, ooh, ha, ooh. And it's like Halo, just one person running around.
Charlie's Angels comes to mind, where I think two kids are playing Final Fantasy VIII, which I think it did have a minor co-op mechanic, but they weren't doing it right. They're just mashing
because they guess what the game was going to be at the time that they think it's going to be, and then it turns out to be a different game, and they have to just work with what they shot and put something else on the screen. So, you know how it also looks like people are never actually, they're just moving controllers way too much?
Yeah.
They usually, aren't even actually playing anything because they don't have a license to do that, and it would fuck with the sound and the lighting. So they're generally, you're right, they're just actually not playing that game. They just can't. It's not like but you get playing your video game. It's
also just the filmmaker's ignorance sometimes. I remember in one of the early episodes of Weeds, I tried rewatching it recently. It does not hold up.
It wasn't good when it came out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, but I was young and a stoner, so I was like, they're making a show for me. This is me. But one of the kids comes up with a DS, and he's like, I need new batteries. And Mom's like, all right, I'll buy you batteries for your rechargeable DS.
Idiot.
Ooh.
Also,
idiots.
This person's right. Matt Walks just said Thor wasn't playing it. It was someone else, the rock guy, I think, and Thor overhears some kid talking trash. That's correct.
That's
it was,
right.
what's his name? What's the rock guy called?
That's Korg.
Rock.
Taika.
Oh.
And then Thor goes over and puts the headset on, and we all really forgot about that, huh?
Yeah, well, the thing is, the more I thought about it, the more it actually made sense, because I remember the version they're playing it's the current version, right? But the movie takes place 5+ years later. But I thought, maybe in this post-apocalyptic world, post-snap, they were not able to update Fortnite fast enough, so the updates were much slower. But
no one wants there anymore.
Would Fortnite? So they're saying Fortnite would still be the most popular game 5 years later without any updates. That's impressive. So they thought about it.
Cool.
I think they went beyond. I'm going to move on to our next story, but first, a quick word from our sponsor, Mint Mobile.
Okay. Mom, I love you, but I gotta go. Okay, goodbye. Have you looked at your wireless bill lately? Because you're probably paying too much. You know, it's not 2009 anymore, Deborah. Network coverage is better than ever, no matter your wireless provider. So why then are you paying more for the same service? You don't know? Well, in that case, let me tell you about Mint Mobile. All right, they can slice your bill down to $15 a month for the same premium coverage. Okay, well, now you're thinking, this is too good to be true. Well, no, it is true. Stop doubting me, Deborah. Okay, I've been using Mint Mobile for about a month now, and nothing has changed. My same phone, I got my same phone number. Everywhere I've gone, my service has been fast and steady. Literally, the only difference is how much I'm paying for the service. That's the only thing. So to get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/dude. That's mintmobile.com/DUDE, dude. Now cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/dude. Mom? Okay, yes, I'm back.
Thank you, Mint Mobile. Okay, next up, I don't know if you guys heard this sad story, but one of our very own has passed. That's right, Mixer, the streaming service that was started back, I want to say in 2016 when it was renamed Mixer from Beam, is no longer going to be in service coming July, late July, sometime soon. Pretty sad. I could read a little bit of the press release here. This is from Microsoft's blog saying, ultimately, the success of partners and streamers on Mixer dependent on our ability to scale the platform for them quickly and broadly as possible to better serve our community's needs. We're teaming up with Facebook to enable the Mixer community to transition to Facebook gaming. On top of that, any of their partners who are signed are being released from their contracts as of a couple days ago, and they're free to go wherever they want. That most notably include Shroud and Ninja. So they are now millionaires, and they can go continue to be millionaires somewhere else. Lastly, they say Mixer partners will receive double payment for all their earnings in the month of June. So your support of Embers, Sparks, and channel subscriptions for Mixer partners will go even further during the rest of the month. So if you've got those Embers and Sparks, I know.
What the hell?
This is old man yelling at cloud. I'm sorry. I know it's hip and new. So yeah, and then I didn't know this. GG is apparently Facebook's new desktop home for gaming video. Mixer broadcasting on Xbox One will be temporarily disabled, and the Mixer apps will notify or redirect viewers to continue watching their favorite streamers on Facebook gaming. So yeah, pour one out for Mixer, guys. Sorry, they couldn't make it work.
This is like very genuinely sad in a bunch of ways. Like, I think being a streamer and working really hard to build a platform, build a community on that platform, and then having the platform just completely shut down and shovel you into something like Facebook, is really fucking sad. Like, that must really suck for a lot of people to work that hard and to have it all go to shit anyway. And Mixer is also a very good service. The way that it works, it has actual FTL, like sub-second latency.
Yeah.
It's the only one to have that. It's awesome. Really, really impressive tech. But they also have some really cool community features and chat features where, like, there are games that you can play in the chat. There's this little game where people, like, there's like a little animated hands and everyone has to click on a beach ball and you like bounce the ball. That's literally a game that exists in Mixer Chat. Also, like, obviously employees losing their jobs and stuff that they've been working really hard on. I know everyone who works there that I know of is really, really passionate about it. But it also failed quite badly. Everyone's percentages of watch rates are up. Facebook gaming is up, I think, 238% since isolation. Twitch is up over 100%. Mixer was 0.2%.
Yeah.
And
that's post Ninja acquisition. So
yeah, that $32 million acquisition. Shroud was 10. Those dudes are fucking sailing. They get to leave the dead platform with $30 million and then have someone else buy it. They're doing great. But I don't know how really Mixer failed. Like, it had so much money. It was on the Xbox dashboard. The service is good. It just...
I can tell you one thing.
Go on.
You were not able to search except by username. Because I was like... you could search for games and you could search usernames. I wanted to look for speedruns. So I went and I searched speedrun. And the only results that came up were usernames with the word speedrun in it. You couldn't search stream title at all. So there was no way to find anything except for the game or unless you knew a specific user. So in terms of search functionality, it was very restrictive in regard, like also like illustrators. I was like, oh, I can find some artists, doing pixel art or something. And so I searched pixel art and it was only users. It's like pixel art, like girl 999.
Interesting.
So,
I actually had an issue related with Mixer the other night where I was streaming, I was DJing and I was streaming cyberpunk style music. So it was synthwave, but it was just chill synthwave. And I was streaming it on Mixer as well. And Mixer, because of the way that it functioned, made me pick a video game. So I couldn't say I was just streaming whatever music. It made me pick a video game. So I was like, okay, Cyberpunk 2077, because it's related. But that meant that it broadcasted on my Xbox dashboard to everyone that I was online playing Cyberpunk 2077, which I absolutely was not. It's not like they're never going to fucking let me play that on Xbox right now. And then there was like a Reddit thread about it. And I was like, so turns out through Mixer, you can lie to people about what games you're playing at any point in time. I can go and do that right now and make people think that I'm playing something that's not coming out until the end of the year.
Well, you got about a month, so yeah, you can be the only Cyberpunk streamer that everyone throws their embers at. I mean, I definitely echo those thoughts. I think losing Mixer is bad, mostly because this is sort of the same problem with YouTube, where everyone says, I have issues with YouTube. Can't someone make something better? And then someone does, and then no one goes to it because the bigger, the rich get richer, so to speak. And Twitch has been called a bloated platform. It's a little bloated feature-wise, and on a technical level, it seemed like Mixer was better, but it just didn't have the people. And that is
I know a lot of people went to Mixer for growth. And whenever I stream on multiple platforms at once. And I push them all pretty much equally in a way that I'm like, yeah, catch it here, whatever, choose whatever you want. And in the time that I've been streaming, which has been probably like about a year, I have 5,000 followers on Mixer and 40,000 on Twitch. And that's with the same exact push. So it's just the amount of people that are on Mixer is just tiny. Like it's just nobody's there. And I don't really know how that happened. When they are on the Xbox dashboard, which is something that millions of people see, I feel like everyone knows the brand name. It just, nobody went to it. I guess Twitch just too big.
It's also, I mean, I feel like on the internet, once something fills a specific service or need, it's very hard. Like there's no real need. I know that competition is good in business, but on the internet, it's like once someone gets it right in quotations, there's not really any wiggle room. Like once Facebook took over that form of social media, there was no other. And like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, they all serve different functions. They all approach social media in different ways, and that's why they can coexist. If there was something that was exactly like Instagram, it failed. If there were things, I feel like there was something like Twitter that they're like, we're going to compete with Twitter, and then it just died. I forget what it was.
Snapchat suffered when Instagram got Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Because it's a similar function, except that obviously Instagram also has an entire other feature. So it was doing
both. So like, who knows what some other approach to live streaming is, but like that Twitch is already filling that goal.
Well, that was.
But like, what were they doing different?
The
apart
way
from chat interactivity,
they won a $50,000. The original creators, I believe, when they were 18, went to a tech disrupt where they showed off Beam, as it was known at the time, and it had the interactive technology where you could basically what Parsec does and these other programs that we're going into, and like the PlayStation does, where you can take over a person's game or you can play together. I mean, James and I were messing around with Parsec earlier this week and completely blown away. He was using a PS1 emulator that we had set up because when we were doing the Final Fantasy speedrun, we were trying to do Air Guys versus, and we couldn't get it to work with RetroArch. And so we tried it with Parsec and it worked flawlessly. And it is pretty crazy. It's a game on his end that I'm the second player on from my home, and it's happening through the internet. And so that was sort of Beam's original pitch. Microsoft bought the technology, but then made it, and they renamed it Mixer in 2016 or 2015. And then they did this big push of we're going to go after Twitch. And it obviously wasn't enough because I don't think they were pushing those interactive elements as much, or no one was interested in them.
Yeah, well, people didn't like appreciate the FTL stuff that much. I think it's so funny that they renamed Beam to Mixer, as the Mixer is a better SEO term. You could have renamed it anything. Why did you go with Mixer?
Name
So
by committee, I assume. I don't know. It's like you could, mix your friends. It's like a mixer. Everyone's hanging out. And someone's like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, look,
Adam,
I'm not crazy. Go ahead. What?
I was just gonna say that you keep talking about how Mixer was Beam and it got converted. I looked it up, so it was Beam, BEAM, but there was another platform called Beam, BEME, started by Casey Neistat, where the whole idea was that you were supposed to post what you were doing and like your perspective, and so you had to hold your phone to your chest, like the you facing camera had to be blacked out in order for it to record. So you had to like have your phone on your chest. It was the stupidest thing. And of course it died. But
I was
like
wondering, someone brought that up when we were doing Inside Gaming this morning, and I was like, what the hell is this thing that he apparently also made hardware for it so that it would like stick to your chest or whatever? Like, he really believed
but it was
in that.
Adam kept being like, Beam got turned into Mixer. And I was like, those guys sold Beam to Microsoft and it turned into Mixer? Like, I was so confused.
That's probably why they changed the name, most likely.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe.
Man.
Like, we're not Casey Neistat.
Yeah, we don't want to be associated with a phone that you duct taped to your chest.
So weird. Smart dude in a lot of ways. Not that one.
There's also the Kevin Roses of the world. If you remember him, he used to be at Attack of the Show and he started Dig back in the day. And then I think he tried to do a Twitter alternative called Pounce. And because I remember, because I signed up for it and it was almost identical to Twitter, but no one used it. And now, we saw Vero, which is a thing, I guess.
No one's using Vimeo versus YouTube, even though people complain about YouTube. I feel like maybe it just gets to a point
Vimeo
where
had better quality. Yeah.
Yeah, where one of those services is so big that it just by proxy becomes a monopoly without even really trying to.
And I totally understand why something like Twitch, like you said, John, what you said was when someone gets it right, you don't want to change it. Usually, if you can't find a video on YouTube, you kind of give up. You're like, you think I'm going to go to Bing? How dare you?
Yeah, true.
Which is actually you have a better chance of finding something through Bing because they don't censor their stuff as much as Google does. Little unethical life pro tip there: use Bing.
Nobody's going to do it. It doesn't matter.
But there was a video actually I wanted to watch. I forget his name, John. You'll probably remember him. The My Spoon is Too Big animation.
It's like Don Hertzfeld or something like
Don
that.
Hertzfeld. Yeah, he has his second animated movie, which was like Oscar nominated. I could only find it on Vimeo, and I had to pay money through it. Except you don't pay through the normal Vimeo site. You have to go through like a secondary site, and you're just like, oh dear God, yeah. It's like the amount of gymnastics I had to do just to legally watch this guy's movie was. I did it. But it's like, it's not part of your actual Vimeo account. It's like your Vimeo Plus, but they're on two separate websites. Regardless, I understand why Beam, AKA Mixer, didn't work. And Alana, you talked about the FTL functionality. That was something that we were utilizing a lot more. So, but it's like we were utilizing because it has like the same lag as Discord, essentially.
Perfect.
It's like a couple milliseconds where the small delay that I'm having in my voice right now between you guys was basically exactly what the video was doing on a separate platform. And you guys we could watch each other play games, which is what we're probably going to move to Parsec at this point, or use Discord's video thing, which is the same technology, I believe. But
Parsec's really good too, and private, because like that's what I did my test for Cyberpunk on, and it worked really, really well. But you can also use GeForce Now.
Same technology. Yeah.
There are a lot of alternatives, and I guess like part of it with Twitch is also just, it's been around for so long in the same way that YouTube has. Like Twitch is just like since Justin TV, you know, like that existed forever ago, also renamed. But I mean, it's been around for ages. And I feel like in the grand scheme of the world, Amazon probably does have more money than Microsoft.
No, not even close.
Well, not.
Well, sorry. No, they are
interested
close.
to see.
Yeah, I remember some story where Microsoft has so much money. It's scary.
I know Bill Gates does. Okay, Microsoft
Bill Gates also has a lot of money.
Has 136.6 billion. That's going to be more than Amazon. Okay, how much money?
Bezos is supposed to be a trillionaire. I forget exactly how it works out, liquid versus assets, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, Microsoft at the end of the day has Windows, and that's just on every PC typically, unless you're a Linux user. More power to you. Hey.
I can't find out how much money Amazon does have. I'd be interested to see what is the highest grossing companies ever.
I did want to mention that, you know, a throwback to when you mentioned Kevin Rose. That was one of my favorite jokes from Silicon Valley, where who's Gavin Belson is doing like one of his monologues, one of his speeches, and he talks about, you know, every entrepreneur has had failures, and he mentions, he's like, this person, all these people are very successful, but they had this failure and this failure. And then some people gave us many failures, like Kevin Rose. And then it shows like a PowerPoint with all of his failed projects. And it was like, oh shit, that was so just like pointed and like it was like an attack on him. But it was so funny.
Yeah, I didn't think Kevin Rose would be the butt of a joke in 2018.
I know. It was like nostalgia joke.
Early 2019. Amazon is now the largest company by market value, overtaking Microsoft's hold on the title.
Damn.
But that is by market value. But then when you look up list of largest companies by revenue, same token, Amazon is on the list. So is AT&T. Shout out. But Microsoft isn't even on here. So I wonder if like maybe they just don't share that stuff as much.
I mean, they're a publicly traded company, but this is all things that are beyond my pay grade.
That's true. I just find this stuff interesting.
I don't understand what y'all are even talking about.
What is money?
I know. Yeah, I know Microsoft can throw money at a streamer with different colored hair depending on the day of the week and not lose any sleep over it.
No, they'll be fine.
They can.
I've not seen anyone say anything like, "Ooh, is this going to sink Microsoft?" Everyone's like, you guys are just fucking fine. No, that's why Xbox doesn't even really matter. Which is nuts when you compare it to Sony, where PlayStation is important for them. They obviously are also in TV. I think that stereos sell really well at Sony, if I remember that stat correctly. But it's still Microsoft, in the grand scheme of things, has way more money than Sony does by a mile.
I think when our civilization is eroded and people look back like us, like the Greeks, where we look at their gods, our gods will be the Amazons, the Apples, and the Microsofts. So like, who were these gods that lived among them? Like, well, just giant buildings that people basically lived at, making software and foldable things before we all died of a mysterious plague. And then one final note. Apparently, one of the managers at Mixer likened his employees to slaves, so that didn't help.
It was a woman, actually. Yeah,
that was a woman. I was a woman. I assumed.
Yeah, she likened these streamers to slaves, and
I misread that. I thought she was referring to her employees as that, which is it's not good any way you cut it. Yeah, both bad.
Yeah,
but
and I think he said he was the only African American employee at the time. Millard Lee complained to her, and then I think took it to HR. And it wasn't taken anywhere near as seriously as he would have liked. And she ended up being like, "He's being sensitive." Was kind of the gist of it. There's definitely not actual quotes.
He reported it to HR. Well, he talked to her first, and she was like, "No," and she tried to Google it. Googled. She's like, "This is a commonly used phrase," and she Googled it to show him. And then on Google, it was like, "You should never use this metaphor." And she was like, "Well, Google's wrong." So he took it to HR. Who they're like, we'll start an investigation, but he'd already decided to leave, so he left. And then months later, he got a call from HR being like, So we finished the investigation, and it turns out she's not guilty because she hired a black person. So she can't be racist because she hired this person. And he was like, okay.
They probably legally couldn't prove racist practices on her behalf and thus couldn't fire her without it being a lawsuit. There is my guess.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, but also HR is like
HR protects the company, not the person.
Yeah, HR is all about protecting the company and minimizing like bad PR and things like that.
Legal risks.
So
now they have plenty of it. It was just funny because the news story came out, said, this horrific story where a manager likened their users to slaves, and then I saw the story. It was like, update: Mixer is shutting down.
The next day, I was like, did they do that on purpose? I know things like that are a lot more complicated. You know, that's not something that they can just push out. That this has been in planning for months. Clearly, that Facebook partnership was prepared because they're pushing all their streamers to Facebook. But I was like, did they do that immediately the day after? Did they push it forward so that they could take the heat off of that story? But Phil Spencer did come out and say that's absolutely not what happened. And
yeah, I mean, also talking, we previously mentioned just how rich they are and how Mixer wasn't anyway dependent, or like their success wasn't dependent on Mixer. I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise if they're like, bad PR, let's shut it down. We don't need this.
Yeah, things don't happen that quickly. I mean, even on the smaller scale things, the sweater you received was probably manufactured months ago before there was a quarantine in place. So, because it's like, here's a sweater you can wear in your home by yourself, like, or with maybe one other significant other, and you can just
I also got a backpack from Cyberpunk. When do you think I'm going to be wearing that backpack, you guys? Nowhere.
From the bathroom to the bedroom, I guess. Maybe you have it in the shower.
I live in a studio, so I guess the only place I can take it is to the bathroom.
I guess maybe when you go check your mail, or to see if the world's okay.
That's true. I have done that a couple of times. Take the backpack next time. It's a cool backpack.
Yeah, well, things are opening up. But anyway, that's our second story. We're going to talk a little bit about The Last of Us 2. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, Warby Parker. Warby Parker is committed to providing exceptional vision care online and in stores, offering eyeglasses, sunglasses, eye exams, and contact lenses. Glasses start at just $95, including prescription lenses, sunglasses, progressives, and blue light lenses are also available. Now, I've been wearing Warby Parker glasses for years now because 1, they look great. 2, they are super affordable. And 3rd, really durable. They're like my travel glasses whenever I go out of town or moving around, and they just sit in my backpack and they're always great and they look and feel fantastic. They have a try at home program that is super simple. You just pick a handful of glasses that you want to try on. You show them off to your friends or loved ones and make sure they are the right fit for you, because the people who are going to tell you look not so hot in those like pointy ones, as much as you want to make it a cool new fashion accessory, cool might not be for you. So go ahead and try Warby Parker's free home try-on program. You order 5 pairs of glasses to try at home for free for 5 days. There's no obligation to buy. Ships for free and includes a prepaid return shipping label. That's right. Try 5 pairs of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/dudesoup. Thank you.
How do we see... Oh, thank you, Warby Parker. How do we see the results of the straw poll?
I'm refreshing it right now. So earlier at the beginning of this stream, we asked our users, it's a little too close. We asked, should we talk about Last of Us 2 spoilers, the biggest game out currently? 60%, which is 33 votes, says talk spoilers. 22 votes, which is 40%, says no spoilers. Total 55 votes. Wow. I'm afraid 55. I mean, I guess this is just like real life voting. A very small percentage of the people are actually speaking for the masses.
Yeah.
But,
we made an electoral college here today.
Yeah, and I think we're going to do what they almost never do in elections. We're going to use our best judgment. So I think we're going to let's go very light on the spoilers.
Okay.
I feel like we don't really need to cover narrative spoilers at all.
That's fine. Yeah, that's okay.
Because there's so much to talk about outside of that.
Yeah, so the game has been out for way less than a week, but Alana, you've been playing it, and then John, you finished it. What are your guys' overall thoughts? How do you feel about it, especially compared to the first one?
I don't like the story as much, mostly because I had trouble getting attached to some of the characters. Like I just was nowhere near as attached to a lot of the characters in part 2 as I was in part 1. And that's like, it's hard to figure out if that's like just me not relating to what's happening or the way it's written. I honestly don't know. However, I'm not one of those people who thinks the first game is 10 out of 10 because I never really enjoyed the gameplay of the first game. I thought it was like clunky and awkward to play, and I found it a little bit annoying, so I would often put it down. It took me like a while to get through it. I really like the gameplay in part 2. And I finished it and then immediately started it again. And I find it hard to put down, even playing through it a second time. It's just, the world building is amazing. I really like the stealth. I like the amount of options you have in gameplay. And also every map is just really, well, most maps are really broad in a way that Naughty Dog games have like, slowly been iterating on, especially with like Lost Legacy. So I love playing it, which for video games, it's good news.
John, how'd you like it?
I basically agree with a lot of what Alana said. I haven't played Last of Us since it came out like years and years ago, but I do remember the combat being kind of there wasn't much to do. Like they're like, you got to be stealth, but all you really had was like a brick and nothing else,
and some scissors that you just bandaged together.
Yeah, and you had to sneak everywhere, and but there was only like little ledges and stuff, so sneaking around wasn't that versatile. Whereas in this one, there's things you can go under, little things you can go through. There's multi levels to a lot of the combat playgrounds, I call them, because they're so big. Like usually, whenever there's a combat encounter, there's so many rooms and so many areas you can go. You can really weave around and go all over the place. It's not like super tight and confined.
You know the part with the boat,
and it
John?
really felt like,
The part with the boat, where you get the boat?
There was that, yeah. That one was kind of frustrating for me. But
I don't know if you would be there yet, Adam. Have you gotten boat?
Well, I know there's a boat because they show it to you on the title screen.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, that's not a spoiler.
I would be
but I wasn't sure
disappointed if there's no boat.
There is boat, can confirm boat exists, but they're basically like the combat encounter that leads to the boat is massive. I don't know how many enemies there are there. I didn't kill any of them. I stealthed the whole way through that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, this is
to
the
boat?
biggest. Yeah, got to the boat.
Oh.
Never even got anyone alerted. I was just like, let me see if I can do this because this is huge. And multiple floors. I think there's probably like 4 levels of verticality there, which again, really impressive stuff. And I was like, well, let me just see if I can, because it's like one of the biggest that I've seen. And I fully managed to do that. So it's the gameplay variety, like I said, is just so much bigger. It's a really lame way of putting it, but it's so much bigger than most Naughty Dog games.
The first game had those, it's like those isolated sort of hallways you go through. And there was never really like an open world. And I'm not saying Last of Us 2 is open world, but they do have sections that are hub-esque.
Yeah.
At least
Seattle.
I know Seattle is like, basically, here's all these points, and they don't put waypoints up unless you get really lost. And I like that. I like that sort of, it's very immersive. I thought that was really cool. And it reminded me a little bit of God of War, which I guess is also to say that a lot of Sony games are a little samey. Not in a bad way, but it's always like, you've got a sidekick. Yeah. But it's like, it needs to be emotional. There needs to be a relationship following you the whole time. Your main character needs to be flawed, and it needs to be a beautiful looking game. It's kind of mind blowing that these are made by 2 different studios because they feel like they're kind of cut from the same
Spider-Man
cloth.
Too.
Very similar.
Yeah, but I think The Last of Us Part 1 is a lot more, like, you're right. It's especially because I went back and played a tiny bit of it just to have the comparison of how much I feel like they've grown. When I saw some people saying like, well, they just kind of improved some stuff, but it's not very different. It's like, I feel like I'm enjoying it. So I feel like it's way different. Last of Us Part 1 is like hallway, room, hallway, room. This is like world, room, other room, back in world. So it's there are definitely still bits that are very hallway-y, but it's way bigger, way more choice.
Oh yeah.
It's also like, again, I just would kind of play with it. I'd be like, maybe I want to kill everyone here. Well, maybe I want to restart this. Maybe I'm going to literally let myself die because I screwed up this encounter. This one time when
okay, in that regard, that's something that in all other games, if I screw up stealth, I'm like, all right, and I'll just run at someone and get killed so that I can restart the encounter. I was not able to do that with these characters. I think this game and the first Last of Us and God of War are the only games where I wasn't actively trying to skip cutscenes after a certain amount of time. I always try to stick with games, but the story and voice acting and stuff is so bad usually that it's like, all right, just let me just get fucking past this shit. Like, I just want to play the game. But this time, I'm actually I'm excited to put my controller down and watch something. And there was only once with a character where I was like, oh, I screwed up this encounter in the very beginning, and I ran and I got shot, and I immediately felt so bad that I did that I was like, I'm never doing that again. Like, I don't want to have these characters suffer intentionally.
The game does make you feel bad a lot. How do you guys feel about that? Like, Adam, how do you feel about it making you feel bad? It does do that.
Yeah. I get so far that the message is that, like, you know, this world is violence and you live through violence. But there was a moment where I was sort of tricked into being violent. I accidentally shot a gun out of a guy's hand and he started begging, no, don't kill me. And they gave me the option to strike, which in my mind, strike is, you know, a gentleman's, you know, two guys about to dueling pistols. And like, I strike thee. Yeah. Except Ellie took a pickaxe through his chest. I thought it was just like knockout, because as far as I could tell, the game doesn't have any mechanic in there where the person just runs away.
I walked away from that guy.
Okay.
When he was begging. I do think that only happens once, unless like maybe it is sort of a randomly occurring thing. But I do think it only happens once, like right outside the hospital. And
I didn't think twice.
I walked away because he was begging, and I was like, okay, maybe he won't kill me. And he absolutely does.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, that's sort of a bummer. Would have been nice if I like had the option. If you're going to preach at me in this game about how I'm a piece of shit and all people are awful repeatedly, and that everything I'm doing is terrible, like, at least don't punish me when I try to do something nice, you know?
Yeah.
And it does touch on that a lot.
This is slightly unrelated, but there was, again, it's been out long enough. Spoiler for God of War 3, if you've never played it. One of my favorite moments from that game is they had those first person scenes when you're bashing people's heads in, and the final boss scene, you just keep mashing square and you're bashing this boss's head in. But then you realize when the screen goes red that you can stop at any point, and that you're like, you kind of stop and go, what have I become? I thought that was kind of cool. Whereas this game does sort of the opposite, where they have these like those pseudo like cutscene moments where they're like, John, you went through a similar thing where it won't progress until you hit the button. And I'm like, oh, don't make me do this. Like, I kind of wish there was a choice there.
Mark Brown just came out with a video that he's the Game Maker's Toolkit guy, talking about the duality, or the warring ideas between how much control do you give a player and how in control is the character that you're controlling. And I feel like with this game, this isn't an RPG where you're playing as a faceless person that you can grow to be anything. Like, you're playing as very defined characters, and you're basically playing through an established narrative. So, like, although I was bummed that I was never given a choice in that, I eventually had to accept that, like, I am not autonomous in this game. Like,
no, you're
I'm
watching
just being,
their story. Basically.
Yeah, we're watching their story.
But I will say, John,
like,
to
there
that
was
point, I'd love to talk to you about it at some point. And I'm going to say it's completely without spoilers. My single biggest criticism, I think, of this game is that I just wish the ending had have been a choice. I feel like it would have been powerful.
Yeah.
If what happens at the end, you had a say in. And games that are really linear have done things like that, and it's entirely possible. And the fact that it wasn't a choice, because again, I feel like it would have been powerful to make you think, okay, what am I going to do in this situation that this whole game is like sent me a bunch of like information about leading up to whatever. That my guess is that they didn't want to do that because there's going to be a third. And otherwise, it seems like the logical solution.
Money, yes.
Yep.
Really?
We have a couple final thoughts to get through. But real quick, I want to give a quick message to you guys from our sponsors at ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is the software that we and thousands of our fans use every day to protect our data online. In the time since we started using ExpressVPN, hacking methods have grown even more sophisticated. We're sure many of you are working from home these days, and without your IT department to protect you from online threats, it's important that you take action on your own to secure your devices you use for work. That's why we recommend using ExpressVPN for the best online protection possible. It's more important than ever to protect your online data. Using the web without protection is like going to bed with the front door unlocked. Speaking as someone who has gone through this personally, I can tell you it is not fun. One of the easiest ways to secure your internet data is with ExpressVPN. You click one button on your computer or smartphone and you are protected. Now, I personally use ExpressVPN every day for our recordings and meetings. For some reason, our VoIP client of choice decided that my internet needed to be throttled, which then resulted in countless drop calls or just degraded quality. For the last week, I've been using ExpressVPN to reroute my server location, and the problem has been magically solved. Now, I can't tell you if this is how ExpressVPN was meant to be used, but I can tell you right now, my coworkers are no longer mocking me for sounding like a robot, and that is fantastic. So my only question is, why haven't you gotten ExpressVPN yet? Visit our special link right now at expressvpn.com/dude and get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Protect your internet today with the VPN I trust to keep my data safe. That's expressvpn.com/dude. Thank you. Thank you, ExpressVPN. And we're back. So real quick, I do actually want to say I am enjoying the game. I'm with you guys. Gameplay wise, I am enjoying it a lot more than The Last of Us 1. I think just the ability to go prone makes it feel a lot more like Metal Gear Solid 5 in a good way. The ability to like get on your back, roll around, hide in grass. I love all that stuff. And the bigger world makes it a lot more fun. It feels a lot more tense. I like the idea that you can go into buildings and you don't know what's going to happen. It has that immersion aspect that I think people really enjoy in games like DayZ and PUBG and those like sort of survival sims. I'm definitely digging that aspect. Everything feels very dire. The thing I don't like is so far it feels like a pretty subpar episode of The Walking Dead. There's a lot of drama and BS stuff that I don't really care about in the story, but that doesn't deter from the game being fun.
I think that stuff gets so much worse. Like I know that's not consistent. Like people are any relationship that you have to a story is always going to be subjective because in often cases it's about what you relate to. So like the emotional beats, there are like maybe 3 that got me in this game, and one of them is something that happens to I'm just going to say a dog that I'm still thinking about. Yeah. And that's because that dog had the same nickname that I called my Labrador. And it just like everything to do with that particular dog just like hit me so hard. But I think that's because I'm thinking about my Labrador. Like it's how you relate to it. And I feel like, a lot of the story stuff is just like teenage horror drama, even though they're, aside from Ellie, who I guess is 19, not really teenagers, relationships that I didn't buy into, just like people I had trouble empathizing with. As a person who is super empathetic, it was weird to kind of not care. And again, this is like everything when you talk about media generally is subjective aside from fucking frame rates. But just especially that one, I just feel like I just couldn't connect to most of them, and I feel like people are very like one side or the other on that. Like John, I don't know how you've felt about that stuff. Like
I enjoyed a number of the characters. I connected with them very much so.
Shout out to Lev.
There's another group of characters I did not. More just I felt like they weren't very fleshed out, and they never had a chance to be fleshed out. But I'm trying to dance around spoilers. I
mean, you can say
could I talk about like the first 15 minutes spoiler?
I just do a quick comparison. I thought the intro to the original Last of Us gets you in so quickly. It introduces you to the main character, Joel, and a very traumatic experience that he goes through, and then you fast forward. And so I feel like you understand his character. You're already in. This game does some stuff where there are 2 characters I've never met who are upset at each other. And when he goes, my girlfriend's pregnant. It's like, when were you going to tell me? Like, who are you and why do I care? And why? And also, why do you care in this world where you could be eaten or turned into a mushroom creature at any moment? Like, it seems like priorities are in a strange place, as if like society has already been rebuilt and we can start worrying about the regular comforts of normal life. So
it sort of is though. They are pretty functional. The WLF especially are really functional. They're like fucking functional city military, basically. Jackson's like a little bit more homey country style, but I kind of do feel like a lot of what's happened is that they have settled down and chilled out. and that's like one of the things that I find more interesting. Again, don't really care about the characters. I don't like, in a lot of cases, like I don't like Dina. Like in a lot of cases, I'm like, I just don't care about you. But I do care about like seeing how the world has grown since the first game, because that world is really interesting. And seeing like the stuff that Naughty Dog's really good at, being the world building, when you walk into a room and you see a note that someone left there and you like really understand the person who worked in that room. Like that stuff I absolutely love, and got more attached to like someone who was in a synagogue, than I did to necessarily the characters that I was with, because they do have some just like really consistently good writing, especially in the world building.
Yeah.
I would love some DLC where you play as all the characters moments before death, have to scribble out a note detailing how you're dying and why you're
like
dying
Battlefield 1
and everything. There's so many of those moments where I'm like, I'm dying. And by the way, the store code is 305285.
Yeah.
At some point you're like, okay, that's fine. But like I said, on a technical level, I think the game is gorgeous. I cannot believe that it's playing on current gen hardware. It is glorious to look at, and it's a lot of fun to play. I still can't aim very well on a controller, just being mouse and keyboard. It has ruined me. I'm glad they have the lock-on functionality that you can enable, that they had.
You just push up.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, I ended up using that for Uncharted 4 because like my aiming on controller ever since just switching over to mouse is like full time.
I feel like Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber, where I shoot like the silhouette around the person. So two things. One, I think thematically, I know it's been mentioned. It's like this has been done a million times, but I feel like most stories have been done a million times. Yeah. And like the overall theme of like revenge begets revenge and violence begets violence is like kind of a natural evolution of, the way The Last of Us, the first one, ended. It's like, yeah, of course there are going to be people seeking revenge on this, and then that's basically the whole motivation for Ellie as well.
Completely agree.
It's a cycle of hate. But in terms of technically, there was one thing that I've tried to recently focus more on, because it's something that I never thought about until I started actually learning about game design and stuff, is the level design. That's something that I have a lot of trouble doing. And so I've been trying to focus on it to learn about it. And in this game, it's basically like, how can they design a level to where they're leading you along a path, but you don't realize that you're being led along this path?
They use
and like
lighting a lot in this game.
Yeah, lighting, and like, in Uncharted, and I think, Tomb Raider, they use like colors, like all the things you can climb are colored a certain way.
God of War.
And initially, when I saw that, I was like, oh, great. But then I realized that when I got further and further into the game, I wasn't looking at the world. I was just going, where do I see that color to climb? And like, it made it very like, I was ignoring a bunch of stuff. That's why lately, like with Breath of the Wild and Nier Automata, I removed the minimap altogether so that I actually forced myself to look at the world and explore the world. And I feel like with Last of Us 2, most of the game, there's a few areas where it kind of falls off, but most of the game, the level design is like seamless, because you never feel like you're just going down this path, but you are.
Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't
really
feel
organic.
that way.
I don't know if I've ever told you this, but we should talk about it sometime. Level design is the most important thing in games to me. Level design is the difference between me liking something and me thinking something is the best game of the year. Consistently.
Yeah.
Like, level design fucking
That's why I love
me.
Dark Souls.
I mean, that's why I love Dishonored 2 so much. The level design in that game is bonkers. So impressive. Like, I talk about that game so much because the level design is just phenomenal. And in The Last of Us Part 2, you're absolutely right. You never feel like you're being funneled anywhere. I got lost all the time, though. I'd be like, where the fuck am I supposed to go here? And it's so
you're
many
also digging
goddamn
through
locked doors.
so many things. You're trying to find as many supplies. There's a point where I'm like, I'm just going to barrel through this. But then I'm like, oh, but I really need a new bottle.
Towards the end of the game, I started just not. I'd be like, oh, fuck it. let me get through here.
Yeah.
Because stuff's hectic.
Well, the game seems smart enough. The game seems smart enough to know when to give you items so that you're never underpowered for certain moments. But I think also pacing the level design is really well done, where the last game I can remember doing this really well was Bastion, where like it's very hard to know your own pacing. One in a movie, second in a book, and almost even harder in a video game, where like you go to these workbenches, you find them to upgrade your guns, and sometimes something different might happen. And those are kind of cool moments where the game developers has their finger on the pulse of their own game, where they go, it'd be good here. This would surprise the player and make it feel more organic. And I've been enjoying those moments where you kind of can't know what to expect most of the time. And that's good. It's just good game design.
What I was curious about was, because it constantly, like what you're talking about, like you never feel unprepared for stuff. I felt like I was always riding that line in the perfect way where I never felt like I was overstocked on anything. I was constantly scrounging for stuff, but I always had just enough to get through encounters. And it made me think, like, did they just nail the amount of resources they provide, or is it like dynamic?
I paid attention to that. I think that actually comes from how they limit your inventory. So that actually comes from how little you are able to carry versus how much they give you. So it's not that you're it's literally that, like, is it a spoiler? Where a certain weapon is concerned that you start being able to craft, you can just only carry 4 at a time. So because it's so limited in what you can carry, and they would space them out like every second room or whatever, and in theory you're going to do it multiple times. It's totally down to the perfection that they put into making sure that your inventory sizes and the amount of ammo you can carry for every weapon is like just restricted enough. I think that's how it gets.
So do you think it's every cabinet where there was an item was planned and they put it there, or is it RNG of, like, when you open a cabinet, there's a 30% chance that there will be a bottle in it, or like oil? I
actually don't know. It's a really good question. I would think that is planned, is put there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that because it felt so perfectly planned, I was like, is it adaptive in that they go, okay, he has no bottles, let's give him a bottle? Or was it just so well planned that it's like, he's going to be out of bottles here, so let's give him a bottle?
I feel like they probably do the math on it. Yeah, it is like, there's a lot of technical stuff about the game that is so well done. And one thing that I keep mentioning every time that I've spoken about this game, so sorry if anyone's heard me talk about it before, the design, sound design, and literal art design of both the clickers and the shamblers had an effect on me that nothing in any video game ever has before. Where if I look at them up close and hear them, I guess, you know how if you're going to throw up, you like salivate? Mm-hmm. That happens to me every time. Every single time that I look at a clicker up close, my body gets ready to vomit. That no movie, no TV show, no game has ever done that to me before. And it's like, it's the worst. The shamblers are even worse for me. It's supposed to be, there's a name for it. It's like trypophobia or something. It's something to do with the way that their skin is really specifically indented and looks like it has holes in it.
Oh, the holes, yeah.
Yeah. And it just but it's like, that means the design is so goddamn good. It's just, a lot of technical things that are fantastic about this. And like we said, like, I guess we all really like playing it, but it is funny to be gushing about the technical side of things in a Naughty Dog game where really people only generally care about the story.
Yeah.
Lana, have you seen the 1984 Dune?
I haven't. A remake of
Dune,
because the
Shamblers gave me the same. They are remaking Dune. The Shamblers gave me the same, like, nausea that I just looked at. It's Baron Harkonnen, who's this guy
all his
who's just covered
face.
in cysts, and pimples that are just like kind of pussing and pulsating. Like, that grossed me the hell out when I saw that, and I get the same exact feeling from the Shamblers.
Yeah,
they're just covered in boils and stuff, and it's like, go.
I mean, you probably, that is super gross. You probably, he's got the same thing, the trypophobia thing. I don't remember if that's the word, but it's
trypophobia. Is all the holes.
It's supposed to be, because I was looking into that, because I totally have that. If I look at the holy stuff, it's supposed to be because you are identifying it as poisonous. And that's why you're supposed to.
Really?
Biologically, you're like, that's poison. I need to feel sick if I see that. Supposedly, that's what causes that reaction. But like, again, credit to Naughty Dog, it's so well designed. Like, So much of that stuff is so polished.
Yeah, I was over because I don't know if we mentioned it. I was basically live texting Alana my entire playthrough. We at one point talked about how the noise the clickers make is just the most perfectly creepy thing ever. Yeah. Like it's just so well designed that it's just so scary. And when you're going through a place and then you hear the clicking, you're like, ah, shit. Like the character always goes, oh fuck, and I always say that along with the character.
One thing that I always say along with the character, which I've criticized Naughty Dog for before, actually, is a lot in Uncharted 4. You'll say, oh, they moved again, and you'll be like, if you're saying that, Nathan Drake, it's because you know it's annoying for players that they've moved again. In The Last of Us Part 2, it's locked doors. Every fucking door is locked. Oh, guess I have to find another way around. Oh, why the door's always locked? And I'm like, fucking doors. How are they not rusted through?
I just don't like that when you hit a window, it takes the durability of your melee item down by 1. It's like
it does?
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Or a bit.
It just takes like just a small bit. But I was just like, hey, that sucks. I guess I should be throwing bricks or bottles at the windows.
Yeah, you got
I don't know about that because
I'm pretty sure it
maybe
does.
I'm wrong.
Well, I wanted to get the achievement for break all glass possible. And there were multiple times where I would have like an axe or something. And I remember there was a bakery in a Chinatown section. And I was going display to display, just hitting it with my axe. And then there was one where there was like a sliding glass door. So there were 2 panes of glass back to back. And I just went, gah!
And you beat the game before me?
If I'm gonna if I just like read some of John's texts in here, it's fuck this game, fuck this goddamn monster. It won't fucking end. Goddamn, I cry.
Well,
it's goddamn Return of the King up with this bitch. Jesus, dude, I thought it was over. Fuck. There's so many just like that's across like 3 days.
That could be any game.
No spoilers, but this game is definitely like Return of the King, where you think it's ending so many times and it doesn't.
It's too long. I think there are pacing issues narrative wise. I think it should have been shorter.
There were definitely pacing issues at the end for sure. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I think you're on the last chapter and there are 2 more.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to getting to that end, the one you two have already made. I'm sure many of our audiences have gone through. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. We'll skim them and probably use it in a future episode of Open House. But for now, that is the end of our podcast together. Alana, John, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, chat, everyone from roosterteeth.com for watching us live, and everyone else watching or listening wherever you are in the world today. Have fun. Be safe. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.